All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third in the series of four DTERM Alternative Solutions Lunch and Learns. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, we are talking about energy rebalancing for you, your business, and your home. So let's get started. I do want to say, I know I'm going to go over today. Got to get my timer started. And I know I'm going over. I'm going to try and keep what we have to 30 minutes. And then I will tell you that there is a gift today. And that gift will be probably after the 30 minutes. So if you have some extra time to stay, maybe 5, maybe 10 minutes, great. If not, that's okay too. But I just wanted to let you know we're a little bit over the 30 minutes today. All right. So today's agenda, and it goes along, if you've been with me for the other ones as well, it goes along with those agendas. We kind of follow the same routine. So who's Donna Tem and what is Donna Tem Alternative Solutions? What is DTERM or Donna Tem Energy Rebalancing Method? And what was its catalyst? Because there's always a catalyst to things that come about. The WIFM, what's in it for me, or actually the WIFE, what's in it for you, and then next step. So we've got a lot to cover today. So why the contrast? When I first came on, you could see this, first slide, and it's energetic, and it's also more not only energetic, but it's all very calming. It's very peaceful looking. And then all of a sudden we got to the second slide and it was more busy and more science-y and just a real difference between slide 1 and slide 2. And why the contrast? And the reason why is because the Donna Tem energy rebalancing method has these energetic processes, but they're actually backed by science's principles. So even though you think, well, there's this energy stuff and then there's science, and then there's energy stuff and there's science, they're really interconnected. And I'm hoping you'll be able to see that today. One of the biggest things I get from people is, how in the world can you know what's happening within my body and my emotions and mind just by using your hands? And there's where the science comes in. It seems kind of like a little bit strange there, but when you look at the science, it comes in. And back in, I think it was April of 2012 or 14, I never know, I'm terrible with dates, but I wrote a blog article. It was called The Heart and Brain of Science and Energy Healing. And I want to talk just about a couple of things that I included in there, because I think it's so important that people know that there is validity to this, and scientific validity as well. So we all know that the brain and the heart will emit electrical activity in the body. I mean, that's how we're staying alive. That's how we know to move this arm, know how to move this arm, this leg, scratch our face, whatever it may be. And we can detect that on the skin surface. And we see that with EKGs and EEGs. They put those pads and they have those little pieces that monitor, those electrodes that monitor what's going on electrically within the body. And we've seen that through science. The law of physics says that, yes, we have those electrical currents, but there's also a corresponding magnetic field that surrounds us. And that's the piece that we really use when we do these alternative therapies. The other piece is, and you'll see that my science is really outdated. I took what I took, and it gets maybe up into the 80s, 1980s, and then early 2000s. But if you go out there, you'll see updated stuff. This kind of fits for me and the point that I was trying to make at that time. So in 63, this biomagnetic field of the human heart was actually seen through research at Syracuse University. And then again, MIT saw it in 1970 when they used the squid, which is a magnetometer. I hope I'm saying it right, because I'm not a science kind of gal. But it's to confirm that the heart measurements were actually being seen and actually being tracked. And then again in 72, when they used better equipment, and I'm sure by now there's even highly more sensitized instruments, but basically they were like, yes, there is a magnetic field around the brain. So there's electrical activity in our brain, but yeah, there's also a magnetic field that it creates. So we see that we can get the evidence from the EEGs and the EKGs, but we're also able to see through other types of things like the magnetoencephalograms and the magnetocardiograms that are able to also say, yep, there's electrical activity going on in our brains and heart, but there's also magnetic stuff going on there. And so there's a belief that mapping those magnetic fields around the body can actually provide some really accurate indications of if there's something that's happening with our physiology, if it's off, if there's some pathology that may be starting. And they're saying that sometimes by doing that and measuring the magnetic field, we can see things that we might not see right away with the electrical instruments. So, and again, you know, if any of you know me, you know that I have a disclaimer for my business that anything I do is meant as a supplement to, not a replacement for, medical services. We have incredible science and technology and medical technology that is so necessary. But we also know over the last few years how much we have absolutely inundated that medical field, and they're exhausted and they're tapped out. So if we can be proactive, if we can find other ways to help us stay on track, then when we really need them, that's when we go. So that's just my little disclaimer there. In the 1980s, University of Colorado School of Medicine also used a squid to measure the biomagnetic field, but it was different this time. This was really a cool finding that anybody who was trained in therapeutic touch, TT, which is another form, you know, some people use Reiki, some people use therapeutic touch. It's another form of energy work. And what they did was they used this squid to measure, when these practitioners were working with someone, the amount of magnetic field, biomagnetic field that was produced from the hands of these therapeutic workers. And they realized, like, wow, yeah, there is. We can, just as we can see it with the brain, we're seeing it from someone's hands through intention. And the really cool thing was they also found that there was like this magnetic sweeping, which is what the brain does. It's like sweeping of waves when it's sending out those signals to the body to say, okay, hey, we've got to stimulate healing here. Let's get this moving. So lots of great stuff. But I have to tell you, this next one was sort of the icing on the cake for me. And it was Greg Braden. He is a scientist turned metaphysical scientist. So he really is bridging the Eastern and Western, doing some incredible work. And so he, and again, you know, the whole science piece, if you need to, check my facts, because I could have some of these and that are wrong. But we had these, and I don't know if they're still there or not, but we had these GOES satellites. And what they were doing was they were recording the northern and southern hemispheres of the Earth and the magnetic fields. And then it would send back every 30 minutes, it would send back feedback. I'm sure today it sends back instantaneously, but that's what was happening back then. And Greg happened to notice on September 11th that there was this like spike in the biomagnetic field that was coming through these satellites and these readings. And what happened was he took his like these spikes and the graph of spikes, and then he overlaid a time frame over them. And what he realized was that it was like something like around 15 minutes after the first plane on 9/11 hit the Twin Towers, that the outpouring of that magnetic energy of our hearts by such a mass of people all at one time actually impacted these GOES satellites and actually influenced the satellites' measurements as well as the satellites' readings. And so, you know, a lot of times we say, well, what can we do? You know, it's just, I'm just one person. Well, actually, this shows if we really have this heartfelt intention, we can really move mountains. So I could go on and on about that, but I'm going to keep going because I know today's a long day already. So who is Donna Tem? If you've been to my other ones, you've heard all about this, but I am an educator turned business owner. And in 2021, I celebrated 2 whole decades of helping others through alternative therapies. In 2024, I am so excited. It'll be 20 years in business. So 2 decades of actually helping people through alternative solutions. Published author, of a personal memoir, my story of abuse as a child. And also I'm a contributing author to an Australian compilation series that I was asked to write for. So much bigger names in it than myself, but I was grateful to do it. Also, I am the founder of 2 programs that I offer to clients, but I also now offer as revenue building certification and licensing programs. So anybody who's interested in building a little revenue and doing what it is that they love to do and helping others, this is maybe an option for you. So one of the things that we talk about is that Donna Tem Alternative Solutions, really the foundation of it is helping people with their trauma. And we talk about trauma as, stress or grief, shock, loss, an accident, abuse. There's so many ways that we can define trauma. And what happens is when we have some sort of trauma, we then create these obstacles. And these obstacles can be fear. I mean, it's understandable, excuse me, about fear happening when we go through this trauma. But also it can be limiting beliefs that we then take on and we believe them. And then we begin to take it a step further and say, I am this obstacle. I am this problem. I am the trauma. And that's not true. You are not your trauma and you are not your obstacles. So what DTAS, Donna Tem Alternative Solutions, does is offers stepping stones. And there's different ways that we do that. And last week we talked about, the first week we talked about fundamental mastery and how you can really deal with your trauma in a way, if you're a logically based person who really wants to be, that kind of like, I want to do logical, sequential, and figure it out that way. That is your plan. Last week, we talked about Yoa Says awareness, abuse awareness resources, and how, these can help you to really focus in on what exactly was the issue, what exactly was the abuse, and how do you get from here to there and close that gap to where you want to be. And also, if you haven't had that type of abuse awareness before, maybe this is for you to become aware so you can intervene and prevent and those types of things. And today we're really going to get into the DTERM piece, which is more of that energetic piece, again, backed by the science. So all of these things are really to help you become empowered so that you can reach the goals that you want to reach and you can live the life you really want to live. All right. So what was the catalyst for the Donna Tem Alternative Solutions? I was sick for years and years and years. And I mean, really sick. And we didn't know what was going on and nothing made sense. And to make a very long story short, I started doing alternative therapies and started to get better. And we later found out I was in a sick building. I was teaching. I had been teaching there for 12 years. In this building, I was also pregnant when I was in that building, had my son, and he was so sick. And we were at New England Children's Floating Hospital, New England Medical. We were at Boston Children's. We were everywhere trying to figure it out. Medical field couldn't figure it out either. So after having him on so many medications, I said, you know what? This is it. Like 3 months old and I've got him on these major medications and I shudder now, but you do the best you can with what you know at the time. So took him off those things, brought him to alternative therapies. He started to get better. And I was like hooked. I was like, I want to do this. This is what I want to do now. I want to help other people. So then, of course, I held the paycheck in the family, the consistent paycheck anyway. And I also, just was able to have the insurance, the medical insurance, all that stuff. So it was kind of hard for me to just sort of leave what I was doing. So after taking a weekend of Reiki 1 and 2 in 2001, I was like, oh, this is really, this yearning is getting larger and larger and larger. And I really need to do something, put it aside again. And finally, I said, this is it. I'm just doing something. And they said, you're going to starve if you just do energy work. That was the message I heard. So I enrolled in a massage therapy school licensing program, and I had never even had my own personal massage. It was so crazy, but I did that in 2003. And then in 2004, in August, it was June, when I said, I'm not coming back as a teacher. And then it was August was my last paycheck in 2004. And then I finally in September was licensed as a massage therapist and then started my business immediately. So not something I would say let's do it. I would encourage you to do it this way. I'd probably do it a little differently next time, but it's okay. It worked. I received my Reiki training. It was a Reiki practitioner training earlier than this, I think 2005. But I knew it was going to just change my life on a big scale when I became a teacher. And it did. But in 2006, I did. I got my certification for Reiki master and teacher. And so as I was teaching, I was telling students, make sure that you bring your own gifts to the Reiki process, but keep it intact, like keep the integrity of the process intact. And then all of a sudden, I was getting encouraged to, I was having these intuitive urgings to shift it up, change it up. And I was like, this isn't what I do. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. I tell students to do it this way all the time. And so when I wasn't listening, the energy would stop flowing until I did what I was being urged to do. And then the energy would flow again. And I played around with that. And then finally, I just gave into it and said, never mind. I'm just going to do it this way because clients were loving it. They're like, we don't know what you're doing differently, but keep doing it. And so I just named it Donna Tem Energy Rebalancing Method. So that's kind of how it came about. For me, if you know me, I'm all about self-reflection. I am all about really having an intention and knowing why you're doing something. What are you doing and why are you doing it? So let's just think about this. Ask yourself this. Do I or someone I know struggle with ongoing obstacles? So that could be physical, mental, emotional, even spiritual. Is there something in my personal life or my professional life that I'm struggling with? Have I or someone I know attempted to logically reason through and resolve this issue, but I haven't been able to do so? I can't get to that desired outcome. And is there something that always seems to negatively trigger me, even when I set an intention, I'm going to handle it differently next time, and I'm going to be more proactive, and then the trigger hits and you're right back to that default pattern. So if this sounds somewhat like you or someone you know, let's investigate a little bit more. And did you know that if traumatic experiences happen before our brains are fully formed, before those synapses are formed that carry information from left and right brain hemispheres, then that experience can get lodged in our physical body rather than processing it through and understanding it better. And if that happens, that unconscious storing of the experience in our body is meant to help us to continue to survive, but can eventually become a debilitating trigger. We see people who have these onset of panic attacks and they don't know why, or they have this pain in this area of their body and they don't understand why, or they're having accidents and they don't understand why. So when we begin to create those default patterns, for accommodating, it helps us. It helps us to survive. It helps us in some way. But at some point in our lives, they're no longer needed, but they're our pattern. They're our behaviors. It's what we know. They're our habits. So we continue to employ them. And then we're like, wait a minute, my life isn't where I want it. I don't have the fulfillment or ease that I really want. So let's look at what's in it for me or what's in it for you now. And the first thing is, as many of you know who see me, you can have a Donna Tem energy rebalancing session, either with myself or someone who is certified in it or licensed in it. And what is that? Like, how do I know, right? That's what I get all the time. How do I know? Do I really need this? A DTERM session is intended to release those energetic blocks that we just talked about, creating this imbalance, creating the unfulfillment in your life. And so people say, well, yeah, but do I really need this? Is this particular thing going to help me? Well, here are some signs of what you might be able to have some relief from, and that's mental and emotional challenges, spiritual issues, physical fatigue or discomfort somewhere, even pain, lack of motivation, or you just aren't as clear as you used to be in your thinking. You've got these sabotaging behavioral patterns. You think, why do I do that to myself? But you can't quite stop. Or just general discontent with your life. So this is one thing that you can do. You can have a session. When we first started, it was just regular sessions of energy rebalancing. And then people were feeling great for 4, 5, 6 weeks. And then they'd come back and they'd be like, I felt great. And now all of a sudden, I just can't, I can't sort of get beyond where it is that I want to go. I'm back to where I was. So I need another session. And so it was either behavior, a thought, or a belief pattern that I realize this is why they keep going back to what they were, and they're not holding that energetic shift that we've created for them. So then we started doing core issue work. So there's really two things that you can do. And if you're like, well, I don't know about that, but I'm really interested in becoming a practitioner, there is a DTERM 3-module online video course that you can take, and it provides you with 4 major perks. So perks is the P for perceiving, the ability to I interpret energy, and then R redirect it, and then clear it. So the initial focus on mod 1 is perceiving like who you are as a person or a practitioner, because what you bring to your clients, whether it's internally or externally, is going to make a difference. Module 2, it really helps you for your loved ones or those who you might be working on, whether it's personal or professional, to really be able to interpret what's going on in their bodies just by a simple hand scan. That you don't even have to touch their bodies, but you can feel things. And there are all kinds of cheat sheets that I give you. So it makes it easier. And mod 3 is about how do I, once I say, oh, wait, this is a block for them or for me, then how do I redirect that? And how do I clear that out? And that's mod 3. What else can you get from this? If you're like, I do not want to be a practitioner, it's not what I want to do right now, but I'm really interested in consciously living. Like you said, Mod 1 is all about practitioners. It's all about the people themselves before even getting to clients or the loved ones. And that's for conscious living. And I have this pre-recorded instructor guided 5-week course. It's actually, you can go at your own pace because it's pre-recorded. And this is mod 1 of the 3 modules. And it's all about you. So you focus on the first perk and perceiving. So you can really get to know like what guides you in creating your own reality. And if you created it, then that's great because you can also shift it. What are deeper truths that you have, and how do you assess and clear and get that out so that you can bring in what it is you really want to thrive. So that's another option for you. This other option is training opportunities. So if you are someone who is looking to do this either with loved ones, yourself, or with in your professional life, then there are training opportunities. And I would ask you this, do you thrive by utilizing alternative methods to assist and train others or yourself, or to release triggers for others or yourself so that you can be have overall well-being? Or are you someone who really gravitates toward that mind-body connection stuff? I just had a conversation with someone this week who said, I love that stuff, and I'm pulled to it. And so, and this is helping you overcome, any obstacles that you may have in this way. If so, then there are a couple of things that you can do. There's certification training where you can build revenue for yourself, or just use it for yourself and loved ones. And you can actually begin to shift those things that you want to shift to get to that other side of where it is that you want to be, close in that gap. And that allows you to work with others. If you're like, I think I want to take it up a notch, there are the licensing opportunities where not only can you become certified, which you do with the licensing program, but you also then can be licensed to train others. So other professionals, other people, so they can either become certified under you or licensed under you. And again, there's some revenue producing stuff there. So if you're interested in that, go to my website, DonnaTem.com, build revenue tab, and there's a lot more on there. So it's like a lot of times people say, well, I don't know, is this for me or isn't it for me? So who can become a licensed or certified trainer or professional? Basically anyone with direct access to other people, other patients, other clients in their care. And this is just a list of people that I won't go through. But, if you are like, geez, I work with a chiropractor all the time, send them over to me and see what, they may be interested in using this as part of one of their strategies. Or if you're, working with a counselor at this point or a therapist, send them over to me and see if this is a fit for them and for you. So there's just so many, many things. All right. Again, build revenue tab. This one, at the beginning, it said energy rebalancing for you your home, your business, and also your land. So I have home, business, and land clearing, energy clearings. This one I don't do trainings for. This one I'm still trying to figure out. A lot of people have asked me, like, can you do a class on this? Can you train me how to do this? And I don't know. I've dealt with a lot of things with this, and so there's some pieces that I'm not comfortable teaching yet, but stay tuned just in case. But this is available to you. And I think this is so important because the effects that the energy of our surroundings have on us are not always obvious. They're sometimes really subtle, but yet they're really powerful. Like they make a difference. And so, anything that's imbalanced and there's energetic imprints in our homes and our businesses or in our land can really divert us from where it is we want to go, our goals and our even our health and our well-being. And so people will feel it, when you shift the energy of your home, you shift the energy of your land, you shift the energy of your business. And I've worked with all three of those aspects for many, many years. And I've worked with people who were about to close their doors and have to go bankrupt. And they didn't have to when we cleared the old residual energy. And then I've had people who have bought their dream homes and suddenly their families are falling apart and they don't get it. And I've gone in and I've cleared, and the families have come back together and healed. I've gone in to places where there has been unfortunate death by suicide, and the people just couldn't even go back into the home where it occurred. And I've gone in and cleared it, and they've gone back in to live and heal again. And then I've also had death by suicides where, people have said, please just clear it so we can sell it and move on. And so I've done that as well. There's so many. I work with realtors all the time where, they'll call me and they've got that one house that they go in and show it. It's like the heebie-jeebies, right? Or that one house that just won't sell and they don't know why. And I go in and I clear it, and they have success in that way. So, contact me if that's something that's interesting for you. Or, but I guess the reason I'm telling you all of this is because I want you to know that sometimes we feel like there's so many things going on that are out of our control, and it really is. There are a lot of things in our control. We just sometimes don't know about them. All right. So a possible path forward. Whew, if you have been with me since the first week, and this is week 3, you will know we covered that very logical piece for the fundamental mastery. And if you want to see it, there's my timer. I knew I got 3 minutes till 30 minutes. So, anywho, the thing, if you want, you can go on my website, and as I do each one of these, I'm putting up snippets of the videos in different places on my website. I'm also putting up the full video. So if you didn't catch one, you can catch it again. We talked about last week, the abuse awareness line and resources. Today's presentation, how do you release those triggers of trauma? And then next week, like if you've been through all of these, or if you have been to some and watched others and you're like, I don't know, like I still don't know, where do I begin? Do I even begin? Is this something even for me? I don't know. Then come next week and ask your questions. That's what it is. It's like, next week is a path for clarity to move forward for you. And I will be taking your questions beforehand. If you want, just let me know, hey, I've got this question, send it to me either on my email, or message me on Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever it may be, my website, and give it to me, and I will kind of prepare for next week. So let's stay connected. I'd like you to just kind of take a quick look and see which one works best for you. If you want to do an intro meeting with me, you can, there's my Calendly, which is also on my website, which is also on my LinkedIn. I'm not sure about if it's on my Facebook or not, but sign up for my newsletter. I'm not good at sending them, so you won't be inundated in your email. Connect with me on the DTAS Facebook page, and that's the little logo there, or on LinkedIn. And please, please, please join me next week on the 28th, next Tuesday, same time, for Q&A, Choose the Way.